Welcome back to my channel. So, I know guys, it's been a very long time. I am quite aware of that. I think the last video I posted was a month ago, and it was my what's in my hospital bag for myself and baby girl, and also my 36-week update or 37-week update. 36-week update. I posted both of those like literally the day before I went into the hospital. So this is now real time. This is actually 4 months later. Baby girl turned 4 months on Saturday, May the 9th. So yeah, it's been quite a long time. Yeah, so let's get into this birth story. And so, as you guys know, if you've been following my story, if you have not been following my story, you might want to get caught up before I start telling this story. And I have a bunch of content about like my fibroids and my surgery and my recovery from myomectomy surgery, and then my trying to conceive journey and all that. So there's a bunch of content out there that you can get caught up on to bring you up to date before watching this birth story. But if you do know my story, you know that I was scheduled for a C-section at 37 weeks due to the surgery that I had about 2 years ago in 2018. June 2018, I had an abdominal myomectomy that was very invasive. They removed 70 fibroids at the time, and when I had that surgery, my doctor was very clear to me. She was like, if you do get pregnant, you will have to have a C-section. So my OB scheduled my C-section at exactly 37 weeks to the day. And it was funny because that was actually the last day she was in the hospital doing rounds. She actually was not doing rounds like that weekend. So it was Thursday, January the 9th is when I was scheduled to have my C-section. So I think with having a C-section scheduled and stuff, it's not as daunting as like actually having to go through birth and not knowing when you're going to go into labor and all of that. You kind of know the day, the time, and all that stuff. So I had to be at the hospital by 9 a.m. and my surgery was scheduled for 11 a.m. So you had a 2-hour prep to get like registered into the prep room and all of that stuff that you had to be there for. So as soon as I got there at 9 a.m. I went into the prep room, and there I met like my nurse who would be helping me get ready for the surgery. My husband was able to come back to the room with me, but my mom was not immediately. They said that she had to wait until after I got my epidural in, right like before I went into the OR. So in that room, I told the nurse, because I was very nervous, y'all. I was a nervous wreck. Like on the drive to the hospital, it was my husband, my mom, and myself in the car, just us three. And people were like calling because they knew, you know, we were going in for the C-section. And so like my aunt, uncle called to pray with us. And then I think my uncle called to pray with us. And yeah, I couldn't even get through those phone conversations. I was crying. I was like so nervous. I was so scared. And it's because the trauma from my prior surgery, that's like anyone who, if you've looked at my content over the last few months, you know that's all I've been talking about, you know, just how, you know, scared and, you know, traumatized I was from that prior surgery. And so I just was like really like working myself up. And so when I got into there, I told the nurse, you know, I was like, hey, I have generalized anxiety disorder. I'm very nervous about this surgery. And she was like, well, just let your anesthesiologist know when they come, and they can probably give you something for that or whatever. So just let them know. Prior to going and having a C-section, I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks before, they told me, one of my colleagues told me about her getting an epidural, and apparently it stings or something. And it's not like the epidural you get for a C-section. It actually isn't even called an epidural. I think it's called like a spinal or something, because it's different. I think it's a lot stronger, I believe, and so it's a little different. But my best friend made it seem like it was like the worst thing she ever experienced. It was so painful, and so I was all kind of worked up on all that kind of stuff, guys. So when the anesthesiologist came, you know, I told him, you know, I was like, hey, I heard that this is kind of painful. He was like, oh no, I mean, I guess people have different pain thresholds, but this really should not be anything painful. He was like, you may feel a little stinking go through your entire body, but that's going to last like 15 seconds and then it should just go away. And that's literally what happened. So the epidural, the spinal was not painful. You do feel like this kind of like stinging sensation, but then it lasts like maybe like 15 seconds and then it's done. And then your legs start to go numb. The one thing that was very weird about getting the spinal though is that you cannot feel your legs, but you can still make your legs move. Scared me, because the doctor would tell me like, oh, move your leg, and I'll think it and my leg will move, but I can't feel it. Like, it creeped me out like nothing else. That was the one thing that creeped me out about having that spine. I was like, how are my legs moving but I cannot feel them, but I'm making them move? It blew my mind. So anyway, I digress. So I'm in there, I get the spinal. Right after I get the spinal, my mom comes in, says my goodbye to her, and then we go into the OR, the operating room. And so when we get into the operating room, my doctor is there, which is always comforting to see the person who you kind of been on this journey with for 9 months. So that was very reassuring and kind of eased my nerves or whatever. And then I get put on the table. The room is very cold, a lot of lights, a lot of people. But the good thing about it is that the anesthesiologist had an assistant that would stay with me the whole time. I can't remember his name, but he was my buddy. He was my buddy. He was like, just let me know if you feel uncomfortable. I can give you stuff. I can, you know. And so once they started like cutting me open and everything, I started feeling like my chest was like very heavy. Like I felt like something was sitting on my chest. And so I told him, I was like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. He was like, your oxygen levels are fine. So I realized I was having a panic attack. So I started talking to my husband, and then he was talking to me. And so I kind of talked myself down, and I was able to calm down, and he didn't need to give me anything or anything. So it took them about 15 minutes to get her out. Like, no joke, she was out in like 15 minutes. It was like so quick. And then for me, it took them about an hour after they got her out, I guess, to get the placenta out and to sew me back up and all that stuff. But when they got her out, you know, all the excitement of seeing the baby, and I'm looking at her, she's crying, and my husband is like following her with the phone. He took some footage, and I may try to insert it somewhere in here. But we do have footage of like actually when she was like lifted up out of me, and then when they took her to give her first bath, and when they were weighing her and all that stuff. We do have like some footage and pictures of all of that, so I may insert that as well. But it was funny because when she first came out, my husband and I was like, oh, she doesn't have hair. And I was like, that's weird, because I had heartburn. I was like, how does she not have hair? But we didn't realize that she had like a lot of gunk on her head. So once they kind of cleaned her off and everything, we started to see her hair or whatever. But she didn't have a lot of hair like the crown, like at the crown of her head. It was like mainly in the back of her head, and it's still like that to this day. Like, and now it's leaving from the back of her head, because now that she's sleeping longer stretches, like, and rubbing her head, like her hair in the back is going bald. But I guess it'll be fine. You know, babies do baby stuff. But anyway, I digress. I keep getting distracted with the story, guys. So yeah, so we're in the OR. They've taken her out, and they're washing her and all of that. And I'm still like laying on the table. They finished with me, but before they finished with me, they were finished with her, and they took her out to go wash her and all that stuff. My husband went with her, and so it was just me and my doctor in the OR, and her assistant and everything, and then the anesthesiologist assistant was still there. And I asked her, my doctor, I was like, was it as bad? Because, you know, a lot of what my doctor and I talked about, my risk with going through the C-section was the scar tissue that I would have from the prior surgery. And she actually said the scar tissue wasn't as bad as she thought it would be. So that was really promising, and kind of eased my heart or whatever. So yeah, so after that, they sewed me up, and then I went into recovery. And in recovery, you know, you're recovering, and you're like, it's kind of like you have an adrenaline high, because, you know, you've had this child in you for 9 months, but now she's here, she's out, and you're just in love, and, you know, we're just loving on her, and just in the moment or whatever. But time started passing, and I was like, why am I still in recovery? Like, I was in recovery, guys, for like 2 hours, and usually you're in recovery for like an hour or so. So finally I asked the nurse, because the nurse kept disappearing. I was like, hey, can you tell me, you know, when I'm going to go up to my room? I'm not sure. I don't understand why I'm still here, why I'm still down here. And the nurse was like, you don't know? I was like, oh Lord, here we go. I was like, no, I don't know, so please tell me. He was like, you lost a lot of blood during your C-section, so we've had to keep you in recovery longer just to make sure your vitals and everything are okay. So here we go again. So apparently during my C-section, I lost a lot of blood. I don't know why my doctor didn't tell me that when I was asking her about the scar tissue. We were having a nice little conversation when she was sewing me up. And she could have just put that out there too, like, oh, by the way, you lost a lot of blood. So they were just making sure and checking my vitals and making sure they were, you know, stable and everything before they released me to go to my room. needless to say, everything went fine, and I was released to go to my room. And after that, I mean, I went to my room and kind of just recovered there the rest of the night. My husband and I, and my mom and my cousin were there, and they kind of hung out with us. And y'all, no joke, I could not do nothing. I could not do anything but compare this surgery to the myomectomy, right? Because they're very similar to a certain degree. You know, you're getting cut in your uterus. Just with the myomectomy, I didn't leave the hospital with a baby, you know. So I will say the after effects of the C-section was nowhere as nearly as bad as it was with the myomectomy. And when I got back to that room, I was hungry, because you can't eat, like I couldn't eat after 12 a.m. the night before. So I was hungry, and I had told my husband, I was like, the only thing I want is a deli sandwich from Publix. So I was like, that's literally the only thing I want, because you know you can't eat deli meat during pregnancy for the risk of listeria. So I was like, all I want is deli meat. All I want is a Publix sub, and that's what I want to eat when I can eat in the hospital. And so literally I was counting down, because they were like, okay, well, you can eat again at 12. You can eat again at 12 a.m. They said they'll come get me, they'll take the catheter out, they'll get, the nurse will come and help me stand up and go to the restroom and kind of, you know, clean myself and all of that stuff, and then they'll, I can eat after that. And so that's literally all I was doing when I got back to the room. It's like counting down to when I can eat, you know, and just enjoy baby girl, and doing a lot of skin to skin contact with her, like laying her on me and all of that, and trying to breastfeed and getting her to latch and all of that. And you know, during that time, there's like nurses and people coming in and out the room to check on her, to check on me. But my pain level was fine. I was not in pain at all. I feel like it's because they still had that epidural thingy in me, and I think I was still getting medicine through that or something, because I felt nothing, like nothing. No, I was not uncomfortable at all, and it was very blissful. So whatever they were doing, I wasn't in any pain hardly, and yeah, it was good. So then when 12 a.m. came, I ate my sub, and I was just like, oh yes, this is so good. And then that night she stayed in the room with us, and you know, the nurses came in periodically to do my vitals, to do her vitals. During this time is when they first her first feeding, I think she took about, what was it, like 1 ounce or so. I forget how many ounces or whatever they're supposed to take. Was it 15? I don't think it was even ounces. I think it was like cc's. She was supposed to take like 15 cc's or something like that, because their stomachs are like so small when they're first born that they can't really hold much. But I think she was supposed to take 15 cc's, and they fed her through a bottle, because you know, at the time my milk hadn't come in, and that was fine. So Friday night she was fine, she stayed with us. But then when the nurse came to check her, not Friday night, Thursday night, but when the nurse came to check her Friday, they noticed that she was not maintaining her blood glucose levels, which is kind of hard to do when you have a low birth weight and you're not eating, because you know, a lot of times when babies come out, they don't eat as much because they're just adjusting, but they're losing a lot of they're burning a lot of calories and stuff, so they're losing weight. So they were very like conscious of that, and they were like, okay, we don't want to get her lower than 5 pounds. So needless to say, they ended up taking her to the NICU. So yes, she got admitted to the NICU on Friday night. So she only stayed 1 night in our room, and y'all, I can really say, like, that was very devastating to me. And at the time, I honestly took the news pretty well. Now, hindsight, looking back, like, I didn't freak out. I was like, okay, it is what it is. And, you know, all of that. I will say I went down to the NICU, like, the first night when they were saying that they were going to admit her, like that Friday night, to kind of talk to the doctor to understand, like, okay, what was the basis for you guys deciding to admit her? Why is this, you know, kind of like, why is it happening? To understand why did they choose to do that. And he was talking to me, he was like, yeah, but why was she so small? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, all my appointments when I was going to my high-risk doctor, like all of my appointments, my perionatologist, like she was measuring at like 6 pounds, or over 6 pounds or whatever. And he was like, yeah, he was like, did you have any pregnancy issues, any like high blood pressure or any of that. It's like, no. I was like, I did have an abdominal myomectomy in 2018 where I had a lot of fibroids removed, and I told him, you know, I had 70 fibroids removed. He was like, oh, well, maybe it was that the uterus wasn't, what did he say? Something very insensitive. He was like, maybe the uterus wasn't a good breeding ground, or it wasn't conducive for her. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why would you even say that to someone who just gave birth? Your uterus wasn't conducive to produce your child. And that's why her birth weight is so low. Anyway, needless to say, I actually wore 5 pounds and 13 ounces, my mom said, or something like that. I was a small baby. So she could have been 5 pounds because I was 5 pounds. I don't know. But anyway, it was just a lot. And I was just like, dude, that was just a very insensitive comment. But so she was in the NICU from Friday until Wednesday. I actually was able to leave the hospital on Monday. And so we had to come Tuesday to see her, and then Wednesday she went home with us. So it was very, very hard, just kind of understanding and looking at her, and you know, like she had a feeding tube in her because they was trying to make sure she at least got food even if she wasn't eating. She had issues feeding, like that was the thing, like she wasn't staying awake enough, or you know, doing enough sucking and everything to eat. Like she literally just had to learn how to feed better, to get the nourishment. And so yeah, they really were like just working and making sure that she was just maintaining her weight. They didn't want her to lose too much weight. So my milk came in, I think I started pumping on Saturday. I started getting the colostrum, the thick yellowish kind of build up milk thingy or whatever it's called. And so I started pumping that, and I was able to use the little bottles they gave me and give it to her, and they were able to put that in her feeding tube. And so that really helped, like when she started actually getting my breast milk, and you know, you could really see like she was starting to gain weight and she was really taking well to the milk. My husband and I kind of met with the occupational therapist, and they kind of showed us how to feed her, different ways to feed her, just to make sure she was taking in all of the milk that she should be taking in. And so there were like different checkpoints that she had to meet before they would let her leave the NICU, before they would let her go home. One of the things was, and I'm so glad we did this, was that we had to have taking the, what is it called? The CPR course. We had to have a certificate showing we took that. So my husband and I showed them that. She had to have maintained like 40, I think it was 40 cc's is what she had to be taking consistently for 8 feedings before they let her go. So she was able to come home with us that Wednesday, and I was so... Charlotte, this is your first car ride home.
How did your daddy do, baby? Rate your daddy. Rate your daddy. What your daddy do? How you doing?
Look at her. She knocked out back here. Oh, she was when you were getting off the exit. She did a good job. You did a good job on your first ride home. Good job.
She everything like her brother, so she dad.
Uh-oh. We spoke too soon. We spoke too soon. Be right up the road, girl. We like 5 minutes away. You want your passy? No. Because leaving your child in the hospital while you are gone, it's very painful. Like, it's very painful. My heart goes out to all those moms who's experienced similar things with their children, and even with babies who've been in there longer. You know, like I have 2 little cousins that were born premature, and they were in there for like 2 months and 3 months. So it's just really hard. But I will say, we had I had my daughter at Northside Hospital here in Atlanta, and Northside Hospital is the absolute best place that you can give birth in. Like, I am not, of course this isn't sponsored, but I'm not saying this to say it like I've been in the hospital before, I've been taken care of by nurses before, but these nurses went above and beyond. I'll tell you an example. One day I was at in her little NICU pod, like I had left the room, but I was supposed to be getting my medicine like every 6 hours, and so the nurse would come and make sure I'm getting the medicine every 6 hours. And I forgot, but I was just making sure I was at her feedings consistently. And so I left, and the nurse came and found me in her pod to give me my medicine. like the absolute sweetest. Like they went above and beyond. Like I honestly felt like I was like really taken care of. They were like, oh, don't worry, we'll do this, we'll do that. Like just really above and beyond, really helpful staff. So it made things a little easier when, you know, it's just a hard time and you want to be able to be around folks who understand kind of like what you're going through. So I think women, taking care of women during that time is very important. And so yeah, so that was her. Let me see. Yeah, so that was pretty much it. I mean, I will say that my birth was not, it didn't go as planned, right? Nowhere could I have planned that after I gave birth to her, she would only spend one night with us and then she would be in the NICU for the rest of her time in the hospital. No way could I have planned that. But I know that everything happens for a reason, and I am so thankful to be given the opportunity to be in the place that we needed to be in to make sure she received the best care she could have received during that time. She is now 13 pounds and eating like a champ. I've been breastfeeding for 4 months now, so she's exclusively breastfed. She doesn't feed from my breast. I pump and then she bottle feeds. And that's largely because they started her that in the hospital, and because when I will say that during the time of when I was giving birth, after I gave birth to her and everybody was checking her, I will say that I was a little scarred by this whole low birth weight. And I know that if she was exclusively breastfed, I couldn't tell how much she was getting. So I initially was like really keen on just pumping and feeding her because I could see it was tangible. I could see how much she was getting out of the bottle, how much milk she was drinking from the bottle. And so I didn't do the best job when we got home, like really putting her to my breast. And so that's kind of what I ended up having to bottle feed her because she preferred the bottle over the breast, and it was just really hard to transition her from the bottle to the breast. So it's fine. I mean, pumping is very hard. It's definitely a commitment. The doctor said it's double the work, and that's true. It's double the work because you pump and then you feed. Whereas if she was exclusively breastfed, she would just feed, you know, right from my breast, and that was it. But it's fine. I mean, such is life. I think given the times, and I'm working from home indefinitely now because of everything that's going on. So I'm not really going anywhere because we are all quarantined. So it actually kind of works out. So I just pump. I have a pumping schedule and she feeds. So yeah, she's been drinking my breast milk since birth. And my milk production has always been pretty good. I didn't say that when my milk first started coming in. A nurse was telling me how much I was getting was really good for it to be, you know, my first child and, you know, all of that. And so yeah, my milk production has really been, it's been pretty good. So hopefully it stays up, and then, you know, she'll be able to breastfeed. I want to do it at least for a year, so we'll see. But yeah, so that's it. That's my birth story in a nutshell. But like I was saying, it wasn't as I planned it to be, but it happened for a reason, and I'm so thankful that I was in the place I was to receive the care I received. She's so freaking adorable. She does a lot of smiling and laughing. We play all day, and it's just a blessing. I look at her, and you know, they say you want them to grow and to, you know, get older, but you want to cherish the moments, and that could not be further from the truth because I really want to soak up all of my moments with her, right? I want to take it all in. Like, even when I'm like in this chair rocking her, like I rock her to sleep here at night, and I rock her here for her naps, and like I could rush and I could have my cell phone and I could be thinking about a million things, but literally I just sit here and I think about the moment, you know, because I know that she'll grow up before my eyes, and there'll be time when she doesn't want me to hold her, when she won't need me to rock her. So I really am just really focused on being more present and just in the moment with her as much as I can be. So yeah, but that's it. So yeah, that's my birth story. It again didn't go as planned, but as I planned, but it went as God planned. So you can't go wrong with that. So yeah, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you have watched all of my videos, I feel like you're cheating on me. So go ahead and subscribe. Become a part of our family. And you know, I really like engaging with you guys. And you know, I think it's very important for me to show the other side of this, right? So I've told you guys my myomectomy story. You went on that journey for me, and now I want to bring you guys along for this motherhood journey to show that there is light at the end of the tunnel. That God brings you through things for a reason. So I hope you guys follow along, you continue to be engaged in the channel, and you like the content that's coming out, because it's going to be a lot of mommy content. It's just the luck of the draw. Like, that's what's going on in my life. I'm mommy. And I may put in a few hair videos. As you can see now, I have my hair. I twisted it up because no one's going to the salon you know, these days or whatever. But I do have postpartum shedding. You can see it all around my edges. I did a post on